Hello and welcome to Tea Time with me, Shaili Chopra. On the show today is a jet set CEO, the man behind Interglobe established the company into private jets and luxury yachts. Meet Nigel Harwood here on the show with me on Tea Time.
The 5 Ps, prior planning prevents poor performance. And for me, if you follow that mantra and you use that mantra every day, I think you can pretty much work your way through anything and be as precise as possible.
In news on Tea Time, Ricky Fowler wins Quail Hollow playoff for first PGA Tour title. Francesco Molinari wins Spanish Open. Phil Mickelson joins 4 others in Hall of Fame induction. And golfing tip with Jesse Grewal.
The pitch shot is one of the most varied shots in golf because we are playing shots from 30 yards up to 100 yards, which would be a full shot with a sand wedge.
Lovely. That was a powerful shot, Nigel.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
But power is not everything.
Quite true.
So what is? A slow swing can get you a fabulous shot.
Well, I'm a great believer that if you're playing golf, you should have a nice slow swing and just enjoy the walk. And forget about the power and forget about the workplace.
Forget about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's not competition and business on the course for you?
There's enough competition in the office space.
As always,
Let's enjoy life when we're on the golf course.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'd be very curious to know how you got into golf, something that came with a job?
A little bit. I actually was too old to play football, and I realised my legs were not going to be carrying me around a football pitch much longer. So I thought, what can I do next? I wanted to do something that just, gave you a nice walk and got you in the fresh air. A bit like, when you're outside, you just want to be there playing and doing something that takes you around a nice golf course.
Well, I have to admit, you're quite a special guest on my show because you've worked in companies that people dream of. Rolls-Royce, in the aviation sector in several firms, and now you are part of Interglobe, wherein you're into the private jet market. What does it feel like? Privileged?
Very. Very. I've been very, very lucky, and I think it's only right that I make that comment that people say they have a career plan and they track out their life and they track out their career. I think I've just been very fortunate that opportunities have come along, and when those opportunities have come along, I've taken them. And now, almost 6 years in with Interglobe, I mean, it's one of the thriving companies in India and a great company to be a part of.
Indeed, it is, especially since it's among those that's surviving in the broad aviation, civil aviation space. But talking of the private jet market, I guess it's good to be in a place where they will not say that if you put $1 billion in aviation today, you'll be down to $1 million tomorrow.
No, that's definitely not the case. I mean, the business aviation, particularly in India, is a tool. And it's a tool that you use for, businessmen to get from A to B and from them to use their time more valuably. So, people do recognise that. And that's what we're seeing more and more with companies across India that want to have that better connectivity and better use of their management time.
Do you think that the Indian market at the moment does look at some level to be a bit capped for the private jet market? I mean, we know the conglomerates, we know that both the Reliance brothers are into it, the SR or the GMR kinds. I know they're constantly using private jets and going from one place to the other. But how much more can this market grow?
You look at it today, there's probably 250, close to 275 aircraft in India. I mean, a population of 1.2 billion, a middle class that's sort of growing, and high net worth individuals of how many thousands. You've got to believe that the numbers could rise to maybe 1,000 by 2020, and I think most manufacturers would believe in that.
So that's quite a bullish target then.
It is a bullish target, and I think to me that seems probably a little bit too bullish, particularly when you consider that maybe the infrastructure is not quite there yet. The duty remains an issue when you import an aircraft. So overall I would still say that if it had a 50% growth from where we are today by 2020, I think everybody would be happy. Very nice, very nice. Straight down the middle.
It is. Just where I'd like to see it. Where is the growth rate going for the private jet market. We're talking about less than 200 aircraft in India today. The rate of growth that we're looking at, is that something driven by, in a directly proportional way, to bottom lines of companies?
I think so, but I think it's also a question of, if you look at some of the major companies in India, some of their plants have opened up now across areas of India that are quite rural. So, connectivity is an issue. I mean, nobody wants to take 8 hours to reach a plant from Mumbai, for instance, when they can take 45 minutes or an hour in a jet. So, that's where we're seeing a lot of the growth coming from, and we see a lot of interest from particularly in the mining area, which although has got its own problems at the moment,
Surely.
but it'll come out of that, we all know that, and we believe that that area is something that will see big growth.
I'd be wanting to know whether India is unique compared to the rest of emerging world in its approach to the private jet market. Is it any different? What makes it different than the others?
I think for one, it's slower. It's been slower on the uptake. I mean, if you take China, for instance, I think we all recognise that China has recognised the need for business jets and sees the advantages. So they've seen massive growth in the last 2 to 3 years. Even in the world climate that we're in, they've seen growth. But I think what hinders growth here is the bureaucracy and the fact that the government places such huge tax and regulatory issues on the actual import of an aircraft, and that is not helpful, and that will always have a
Are these policymakers or the DGCA even listening to what you have to request for? Remove the duties?
I mean, nobody's asking to remove the duties. I think that would be too much to ask. But
just reduce them?
But reduce it. I mean, why would it be close to 20%? I mean, it's 18.5% now if you bring in a private aircraft into private category. And not only that, it takes you 3 to 4 months to get the permission to import that aircraft. Why? There's no need for it. You look at any other country in the world, I don't think that happens. And I don't think anybody would argue that they should pay some duty. But if, a guy has earned his living...
Because tax the rich is actually a story that started in America and it's played out here, and it's fair.
It is fair, but then look at it this way. So a gentleman buys an aircraft. Let's say he's a multi-millionaire and he wants to buy an aircraft because he believes that will help his business. What will happen next? The business will grow, jobs will be created, and from there you'll start to see more people have wealth
And the
creation.
CEOs will fly.
And the CEOs will fly.
Okay, private jets is one business, and that includes Hawker, Beechcraft.
Yeah, we have Hawker Beechcraft, we have Sikorsky helicopters, which is the real sort of royal family VIP helicopter that we sell. And then we've got a couple of other products, including a 19-seater regional aircraft. And that's one that we do believe has got massive potential in India.
They also have a business in luxury yachts, something that actually did give a big ray of hope to India. But today, is that business threatened largely because of the crisis? That's a question that we're going to ask Nigel up ahead on the show.
I'd like to keep this on the fairway.
That's lovely. We've actually approached the green.
No, I wouldn't lose to him just because he's the boss. Definitely not.
Definitely not. He needs to know that he's employed the right people who play well.
Absolutely.